Former President Jimmy Carter made his final return to the nation's capital Tuesday. Carter's body will lie in state in the U.S. Capitol building through Thursday ahead of his state funeral at the Washington National Cathedral. He will then be buried during a private interment in his hometown of Plains, Georgia. His arrival in Washington included a military ceremony at the Navy Memorial. Carter was the only U.S. president to graduate from the Naval Academy and serve in that branch of the military. More than 23,000 people paid respects to the former president as he was lying in repose in Atlanta earlier this week. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion joins me now. Nikole, you were braving the frigid temperatures. Can you walk us through the significance of some of today's events?
Well, certainly the significance is that this is a rare honor bestowed not only on former presidents, but on those Americans who have contributed vastly to our society. So in terms of this honor of President Carter lying in state, he joins people like former President George H.W. Bush, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, Lyndon Johnson, John F. Kennedy. But in terms of ordinary Americans who did extraordinary things, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Rosa Parks, the late John Lewis, and the list goes on. So, this was a very solemn ceremony, but certainly one that was full of respect and tributes for the 39th president. We saw Leader John Thune, the new majority leader of the Senate, deliver remarks, as did Speaker Mike Johnson and Vice President Kamala Harris, all delivering eulogies and laying a wreath in Carter's memory. What was interesting in listening to some of their remarks, particularly Speaker Mike Johnson, as well as the Vice President, this is a generational difference, right? So it was kind of interesting to see both of them kind of give their first recollections of the former president. And the Vice President's case, she said she was in middle school when he was president, whereas Mike Johnson said that he was just 4 years old. So they talked about the influence and the imprint that the 39th president not only had on their lives as youngsters, but also his impact, obviously, on the greater American society and fabric as a whole. So we heard tributes of praise for his humanitarian service, for his role as president. Of course, Vice President Kamala Harris spending a lot of time on that, talking about his legacy with respect to getting a lot of legislation passed in terms of environmental policy, and just being one with the people and carrying on that legacy beyond his presidency by establishing the Carter Center and by doing a lot of humanitarian work both here at home and abroad. So that was some of the words of inspiration and tribute that we heard for the former president. Of course, now he is lying in state here at the U.S. Capitol, where we expect members of the public to also get their chance to pay their final respects over these next 2 days before his state funeral on Thursday.
Nikole Killion, thank you so much.